Hello and welcome back to the Strategic Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Rosie Loos, clinical psychologist, mindset and performance coach. In our last episode, we built the architecture for your legacy. We designed your days with purpose-first time blocking, managed your energy strategically and set boundaries to protect it all. It's a powerful, new operating system. But what happens when you sit down in that perfectly protected purpose block? The house is quiet, your calendar is clear, and your brain suddenly says, "Who do you think you are? This is selfish and a waste of time. You don't have what it takes. There are thousands of other things you should be doing." That right there is the sound of your legacy being stalled, not by external chaos, but by an internal saboteur. Today, we are going to unmask that saboteur, understand its origin story, and learn how to rewrite the narratives that have been holding you back for years. In this episode, you will learn to identify the 3 most common roles your inner saboteur plays: the imposter, the martyr, and the perfectionist. You'll understand the neuroscience behind why these thoughts feel so true and so loud. And most importantly, you'll get a simple 3-step cognitive framework called Name, Validate, and Reframe to disarm these thoughts in real time. This is not about positive thinking, it's about accurate thinking. This is the mindset overhaul that allows your new operational system to actually work. So let's give this saboteur a proper introduction. I don't like calling it your inner critic because that can sound like a minor nuisance. A saboteur is intentional. It works against you, gaslighting and undermining you every step of the way. And its favorite weapon is the protective story. These are the narratives we tell ourselves that feel absolutely true, but whose primary function is to keep us safe, small, and within our familiar territory. The brain's number one job is survival. It's not happiness and fulfillment. And your legacy, that big, beautiful, unknown future, looks like a threat to the part of your brain that craves the known, even if the known is actually kind of miserable. Let me give you some examples. Do any of these sound familiar? One of the most common ones is the imposter story. It sounds like, "I'm not a real coach, writer or leader, creative. I'm just winging it. Sooner or later, everyone will find out I'm a fraud." Another is the martyr story. "It's selfish to take time for myself. My family needs me." A good mother would put her dreams aside to create the best life for her children. This one is particularly strong if we didn't have it all growing up, and naturally we want to, on some level, fix that for our own kids. The perfectionist story. "I can't start until I have the perfect plan, the perfect website, the perfect credentials. If it's not going to be flawless, it's not worth starting in the first place." So we end up recreating things over and over and getting nowhere. See how clever these are? The imposter protects you from the risk of public failure and ridicule. The martyr protects you from the risk of familial rejection or conflict. The perfectionist protects you from the private shame of creating something human. They are all trying to keep us safe, but they are also keeping us stuck. I want you to think about a time recently when you felt a flicker of excitement about your project, and then a crushing thought followed it. What's the story? Just notice it. The problem isn't that you have these thoughts. Pretty much everyone does, but the problem is that we fuse with them. We believe them as absolute truth and let them dictate our actions. We close the laptop. We cancel the purpose block. We stay small and safe. But what if we could see these thoughts for what they are? Not as fact or truth, but as a well-intentioned but outdated security system. To do that, we need to understand what's happening in the hardware, your brain. So when that saboteur thought fires, you are going to fail. It's not just a whisper. It feels like a booming thunderclap in your nervous system. And here's why. It primarily involves two key parts of your brain. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system. It's designed to scan for threats. And for your amygdala, a threat isn't just a saber-toothed tiger. It's social rejection, the risk of failure, the uncertainty of stepping into a new identity. When it perceives a threat, it sounds the alarm, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This is why that critical thought often comes with a physical sensation, a knot in your stomach, a tight chest, or a rush of heat. The default mode network, DMN, is a network of brain regions that becomes active when you're not really focused on the outside world. It's when you're daydreaming or ruminating, thinking about yourself. It's the home of your autobiographical self, your stories, your past, your sense of identity. The saboteur has set up shop right in your DMN, and it plays your greatest hits of past failures and future worries on a loop. Now, here's the crucial part. Every time you hear the saboteur's story, some version of "you're not good enough," and you believe it, you stop taking the action that proves it wrong. You don't write that page, you don't make the pitch. And because you didn't take the action, you don't get the evidence that you are, in fact, capable. This lack of evidence is taken by the brain as proof that the saboteur was right all along. It's a vicious, self-reinforcing neural pathway. You are literally strengthening the circuitry of self-doubt. But we can build a new pathway. We can recruit a different part of the brain. You might remember from last episode I talked about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, the AMCC. That's the part of your brain that's the hardware for willpower. This region lights up when you do something difficult, when you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, when you feel the resistance, the fear, and the discomfort of what the saboteur is telling you, and you take that small, brave action anyway. You are not just pursuing a passion project. You are building the neural hardware for courage. You are literally growing your anterior mid-cingulate cortex, the brain's tenacity muscle, with every act of defiance. So, with that understanding, let's get practical. How do we actually do this in the moment? This is a simple but profoundly powerful 3-step cognitive framework. It's designed to create space between you and the thought, so you can choose your response instead of being hijacked by it. Step 1 is to name it. When the saboteur thought arises, name the archetype. This instantly creates distance. Becoming the scientist observing the thought in the laboratory of your mind, rather than being the experiment itself. Instead of buying into the idea of "I'm a fraud," you could say, I see the imposter is here. When the idea of "I'm a bad mother for doing this" shows up, you could say, okay, the martyr is speaking up today. Instead of "this isn't perfect, I need to start over," you could say, "there's the perfectionist trying to protect me." This is a clinical, evidence-based technique from acceptance and commitment therapy called deliteralization or diffusion. You're stripping the thought of its power by creating it as a character, not a core truth. Step 2 is to validate and disarm with compassion. So this is the most counterintuitive but transformative step. We often try to argue with the saboteur, No, I'm not a fraud. I have credentials. But arguing with it just gives it more energy. It's like wrestling with a monster in the dark. It just gets bigger. Instead, we validate its protective intent. We thank it. To the imposter, thank you for trying to protect me from embarrassment and rejection. I know you're just trying to keep me safe. To the martyr, you might say, thank you for trying to protect my family and ensure I'm seen as a good mother. Your intention to maintain harmony and balance is duly noted. To the perfectionist, you could try, thank you for trying to save me from the pain of criticism or failure. I see that you want this to be truly excellent. When you do this, something magical happens. The fight goes out of it. The amygdala's alarm system begins to quieten down because it feels heard. You are moving from a state of threat to a state of curiosity. Instead of continuing this tug of war with the saboteur, you are simply putting down the rope. Step 3 is to reframe it. Install a new narrative. Don't reject the old story, upgrade it. Choose a thought that is both compassionate and forward-moving. This is not about slapping a band-aid with a good vibes only mantra on top of fear. It's about finding a thought that is true enough to believe and that serves your legacy. To reframe the imposter, the old story is, I'm a fraud. And the new narrative is, I'm an apprentice. I am learning, and my voice and experience have value right now, even in their imperfect state. This is where embracing a growth mindset and self-compassion comes in. Giving yourself the grace to be a beginner, what the Japanese call shoshin, a beginner's mind. A reframe for the martyr. The old story is, this is selfish. A new narrative could be, modeling self-respect and purpose is one of the greatest gifts I can give my children. A fulfilled mother is a powerful legacy. We don't want our children growing up thinking a mother's role is to sacrifice their needs for the good of the family. A reframe for the perfectionist. So the old story is, it must be perfect. The new narrative is, progress, not perfection. A good enough start that I can iterate on is better than a perfect idea that never exists. Again, growth mindset could be helpful, but also the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, embracing imperfection. So let's walk through a real-time example. You sit down for your purpose block to outline your creative project. The thought arises, this is a waste of time. No one will buy this. You don't know enough to make this work. Name. So take a breath. The imposter is here, right on schedule. Validate. Thank you, imposter, for trying to shield me from the potential disappointment of this not working out. I appreciate your desire to keep me safe and in my comfort zone. Reframe. And I choose to believe the thought that my unique perspective can be useful for the people it's meant for. My job right now is not to be a world premiere artist, writer, whatever it is for you, but it's to create something and share my passion with the world. Can you feel the shift? You haven't eradicated the fear, but you've taken back the microphone. You are now in the director's chair. Let me make this real with a case study. I worked with a client. I'm going to call her D. She was a brilliant teacher who dreamed of creating resources for parents of neurodiverse children. She had her operational overhaul down, but every time she went to create, she was just paralyzed. When we unpacked it, her primary saboteur was a fusion of the perfectionist and the martyr. Her story was, if I create these resources, they have to be absolutely perfect and comprehensive, because if I get it wrong, I could mislead a struggling parent, and that would be unforgivable. And besides, spending this time creating when I could be planning my actual lessons for my actual students is irresponsible. Can you see how noble and heavy that is? The weight of that story was absolutely crushing for her. So here's how we applied the framework. Name it. Okay. The Perfectionist Martyr alliance is in full force today. Validate it. Thank you both. Perfectionist, you are ensuring the highest quality so I can serve these families with integrity. Martyr, you are making sure I remain a dedicated, responsible teacher. Your commitments to excellence and duty are incredible strengths. Reframe it. And I choose to believe that my lived experience as a teacher and as a mother is valuable. I don't need to have all the answers to provide helpful support. Releasing one small, good enough guide is a more generous act than holding on to a guide that isn't quite perfect and never sees the light of day. Dee's first action was not to write the entire resource library, but it was to create a simple one-page PDF with her top 5 tips for managing homework meltdowns. It was good enough. She posted it in a private Facebook group, and the response was overwhelming. Parents thanked her for her practicality and her empathy. The result was concrete evidence that her saboteur was wrong. Parents thanked her. She didn't mislead. She helped. She wasn't irresponsible. She became a pioneering voice. That simple, good enough action provided the data her brain needed to start trusting her new narrative. This work, this inner negotiation, is the silent, unseen labor of legacy building. The world sees the launched program, the published book, the thriving community, but it doesn't see the daily, hourly, sometimes, battle with the saboteur. Your ability to lead yourself through this internal resistance is the single greatest predictor of your long-term success. It's more important than any strategy, any tool, any time-blocking app. Because without this skill, the strategy will eventually be abandoned. Think of your mind as a garden. The saboteur stories are like invasive weeds. You can't just cut them out once. You have to tend the garden daily. The Name, Validate, Reframe framework is your daily weeding tool. It's not a one-time fix, it's a practice, a discipline. And remember, you are not just doing this for you. You are modeling for your children, your partner, your community, what it looks like to have a difficult thought and not be ruled by it. You are showing them what emotional courage and psychological flexibility look like. That is a legacy in itself. So let's bring it home. You have an internal saboteur whose job is to keep you safe and small. It uses protective masks and stories like the Imposter, the Martyr, and the Perfectionist. These thoughts feel true because they are wired into your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, and your storytelling network, the default mode network. But you have the power to rewrite the code using the Name, Validate, and Reframe framework. Name the archetype to create distance. Validate its protective intent to disarm it. Reframe with a more accurate, empowering narrative. Every time you do this and take a small, brave action anyway, you are growing your AMCC, your brain's tenacity muscle. Your mission this week is to practice this just once. The next time your saboteur turns up during a purpose block, I want you to pause and go through the 3 steps. Write down your reframed narrative on a Post-it note and place it on your laptop. Thank you for the courage in doing this work. If this episode helped you see your own mind more clearly, please share it with another mum who might find it helpful. Remember, the saboteur's voice is a sign that you are stepping into new, important territory. Your legacy is waiting on the other side of that conversation. To your legacy.